go. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Let's look at this. Where we say the things will help dispel inferiority, regain confidence in our authority. Where we open up all eyes wide shut, give it to you in the raw, unfiltered, uncut. For mental health with Black wealth. We dismantle indoctrination by having all hard conversations. Excuse me. Sometimes maybe we dispute, except the ones we shouldn't refute. We continue to buy Black to get our dollars back. Great. Welcome to Let's Look at This. I'm your host, Dr. K. Wayne, co-host, Minister P. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. K. This is Minister P with Peace and Reality, saying good morning to all my brothers and sisters and all the listeners that are joining us today.
All right, people, we are back.
Yes.
This morning, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we are back with part 2.
That's it.
You know, as Minister P, as we think back, you know, these infamous Black movies, House Party, 1 and 2. Here we are,
Right,
with our party, leaving the party.
we're back on the attack.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
So Minister P, we left off last week. You know, we was gonna go into the percentages as far as when it comes to percentages in parties and where do they stand as far as what's the popular aspect of what most people will stand throughout the country, whether you be white or Black.
Right.
We research and we look at the percentages reference to the independent party. And then before we get into that, Mr. B, real quick, you know, I want to just go into in detail to what we talk about leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a leader is one who, by definition, who would guide and lead people in the right direction to where they should be going. Um, Especially if a leader is out front and he sees some aspect of trouble, he would try to evade or elude that trouble. No different than you would see someone leading a pack. There's reference to in a car, motorcycle. If you had somebody as out front as the leader, if I'm the leader and I see a cliff coming, do I just keep going to the cliff and just take everybody overboard with me? Or do I say, well, I see a cliff up ahead, or a deep hole in the ground? I may want to consider evasive maneuvers to get around that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'll just real quick go into leadership or leader. We'll say leader. Something that leads, such as a person who leads, such as a guide, conductor, tour leader, recommended several, we'll say some restaurants, things of that nature. Somebody leading a chef, person who directs a military force, unit leaders of an army, person who has commanding authority or influence, leader in a reform movement,
Mm-hmm.
principal officer. If you look at this is narrowing down into the British aspect of things, principal officer of a British political party. They use that term leader. Two, and continuing in this definition, leadership or leader,
Right.
I should say leader, correction. A party member chosen to manage party activities in a legislative body, the majority leader. And then moreover, I continue, such as a party member presiding over the whole legislation body in the party constitutes a majority of the leader of the House. So, as again, ministry, we talk about master of words, right? So when we say leader or use the word leadership, that would be someone that we have put out front to lead us in the right direction, to evade something that would be considered to be maybe a trap or somewhere where we shouldn't be going.
Right. Or just lead us to a better place. I mean, one of the qualities of a leader is he has to have vision. He has to have knowledge. He has to have an understanding of what his contemporaries want and need. And so he has to have that direction to go towards that place where we need to be. That's a leader has to have those qualities. He has to have boldness and courage, and above all, knowledge and wisdom.
Right. Having that knowledge and wisdom, of course, puts you in a position to say, hey, I know what of the people, their demands, their wants, their needs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if a leader understands that and say, well, here's our destination, and everybody is on one page, and we have chosen you to be the leader now.
All right.
We've chosen an individual to be the leader. That is in itself you would think that the leader has the mindset to say, hey, well, if I chose to, they're entrusting me
Mm-hmm.
and to maneuver into where I wouldn't take them over a cliff, into a ditch, into, as you would best put it, Minister P, dark valleys.
Okay, that's it.
So if we're in this dark valley and we have a leader, let's just say by chance we get down this dark path, you would think the leader should have some, if he doesn't have any knowledge, he should stop and say, hey, let me congregate with the people to say, hey, we are on a dark road and we need to get insight on the group itself so I can continue to lead us through this dark path. And, I've been thinking on this all week as reference to leader and leadership, what does all of that means? And why do we gravitate so quickly to that word, but then don't truly know the meaning behind it? And, these are things that we should be paying attention and looking at and really understanding before we get off into various things that has been placed in front of us today.
Absolutely.
And even now, what we're talking about. Again, people, I always make it plain that on this show we are talking, but we are definitely doing things behind the scenes to push for the effort. And then this is knowledge that we need anyway, because we've been given the wrong knowledge for years. And so what we've been hearing has taught to be what is true. So we have to take that information that has been taught to us and reevaluate. That's why the word exists. You have to reevaluate it and get a better understanding of what has been placed in front of you. So Minister B, let's get off into that. Let's get off into the percentage and the different parties. And what do these parties consist of? What is the definition of these parties that we've been invited to? And why we maybe should have been having our own party, as you know, we do that well. As you know,
listen,
we talked about that last week.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we talked about leaving the party. You gave the example of why would be some of the reasons why we would leave a party, and you gave an illustration of how we were all going out to a party, and then all of a sudden someone asked you to leave, or you felt as though you wanted to leave. Well, the reasons for that is because you have become uneasy with the surroundings in that party, so you left, or you became disquieted with the situations in there, so you left. There was an unrest, so we leave. That's the purpose of leaving a party. And so translate that into the political realm, the same thing goes to effect. We leave or choose a party because we either become disenfranchised with it or disenchanted with it, and it no longer represents, here it is, we find no longer pleasure in that party because it doesn't affect our needs and our gratifications. So we know now here, Dr. K, there are three basic political parties in America. And we have the Democrats, the Republicans, and then there is the Independent Party. And this was so amazing, Dr. K, listen, in 2020, there was a Gallup poll, and it found that, here it is, 31% of Americans identified themselves as Democrats. 25% of Americans identified themselves as Republican. But here's a shocking number. 41% identified themselves as independent.
And people would ask the question, why is that? Just to pause you right there, Minister P, because that 41% comprises of people who care not to be involved in the party. They have because either of those parties have any benefits that was going to benefit them. That's why they choose to leave. They said, hey, this party this doesn't benefit me. And moreover, what you have in place and that's to get into these type of articles, Minister P, that they talk about something being a hoax. So just real quick, I want to point out, I'm not gonna what the heck.
No, let's do the do.
Look at that.
The January 6th insurrection hoax.
So this university,
It's a hoax.
they called it a hoax.
It didn't happen. Nothing like that happened.
You know why that happened, Minister B? And it's important, and black folks, because I've heard it, we should stay out of that. That's none of our business. No, we should pay all that our attention, because that's been done before in history. They've burned down Washington, D.C. before, based on why? Because when we look at and this is it's about connecting the dots, and this is you're driving it right home. This being reference to starting. You're starting it, and we're going to drive it home as reference to these parties. So when it came to the aspect of voting, here, let's understand this, people. Black folks had the right to vote during slavery. Do you know that, Minister B?
Yeah, nah.
So understanding that, saying that, and putting that out there, people say, "What? I thought the whole Civil War was on because to end slavery." No, it was the South wanted to maintain slavery. The North wanted to do business and oppose of the South maintaining slavery because they were gaining more benefits out of it. And the purpose of the North would say, well, we're trying to move west because this whole gold thing is becoming popular in the railroading, and we can use slave labor in that aspect. And if we do use them in a different way, we'll pay them a small wage to run this railroads. And matter of fact, for the most part of that, running those railroads, they paid the Asians. The Asian come along later and paid them small wages to actually complete the railroad system. But starting it was all based on slavery. So getting back on track and understanding that the Black in the North, i.e. the states of Pennsylvania, before becoming these United States, the South said, well, South Carolina, Minister P here, South Carolina coming up again as the lead, saying that no, we don't condone that slaves go up north and vote and go from state from the South to the North, and then now they can claim to be free just to a certain degree. We'll quote that so-called free, but they were able to take part in these things as reference to voting, even though their voting was still controlled and they didn't have the numbers, but they were able to vote in the northern states. Now, here comes the catch-22 when we talk about our dear brother Dred Scott, the Dred Scott decision based on Illinois Supreme Court stating that what South Carolina already was thinking, no Black man, it states that no white man has no bounds to respect that a Black man would say or do. So even if he voted at 100%, they didn't care. They had no reason to care based on what he was voting about, because they say, well, hey, he was an ex-slave. Just because he's able to go from one state to the next, and then we respect nothing that he would say or do. Right. Here we are, fast forward. Now, here the correction in that was supposed to be the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment and the civil rights laws. That was supposed to have corrected the aspect of the Dred Scott decision. But here we fast forward to 2021, going into 2022. Our people still confused on what needs to happen to us and what we need to be doing. I mean, when you watch the news, Ministry, that furthermore, just the small things you pay attention to. Look at these other groups that has more groups that have come into the country. They don't go out and say, "Well, I'm looking to do something for everybody." Now we'll focus on the Hispanic. Let's talk about Chewy Garcia. And he gets on TV. Who's surrounding him? It ain't every group. It surely ain't none of us with him. He has his own people. They'll mention everybody in the room. Say, well, Rodriguez, Lopez. And here we are. We got to go get everybody else but ourselves. Why? Because we've been taught that. I give the analogy, Ministry, when you look on back of products today, what does it say? It says made where, for the most part. In China, right? Mm-hmm. Here we are, made in America. mindset and all, having no allegiance to self, deny self. That's what we tell ourselves when we go to these parties. We said, let me deny myself because I don't care about myself that much. I'm interested in everybody else. That's basically what that's saying. I mean, look, just think about that. Even if you go out into the wilderness, Minister B, we go out into the lion wilderness. That would be like a lion saying, well, no, I'm going to deny myself and not attack this hyena that's in my area. And I'm hungry, but I'm going to deny myself and give him a pass. Do you think that happens in the wild?
That does not happen in the wild.
Okay. So why are we playing the game with ourselves? Playing games now. We in the game that we know not of the rules. We play a game that we don't know the rules to.
But here's the thing with that: we are learning the rules. I'm not just going to keep it at that. We are learning the rules. We have to learn the rules. I mean, it's as simple as that. And so the progress that we have made. Listen, let's take it back to slavery. When slavery ended officially January 31st, 1865. And so before that, no Black person could vote before that. But after that, after slavery was abolished, officially January 31st, 1865, then we start gaining certain rights. And
right. So correction in that, Ms. Speak. They don't see, they give you a short. That part is not true. A Black person was able to vote. Here again, this is the slip knowledge that they give you. A Black person was able to vote
during slavery
in the North. They don't give you that part. Remember, you got the 13 colonies,
right?
During the late 1800s, before 1865, there was a tug of warring about Blacks leaving the South, trying to go to the North to be free. So before the Civil War started, this is what ensues. Here again, when I tell Black folks before getting into law enforcement and all these other groups, know the history behind it before we start just running off and doing things and babbling and going off. No. So the South, what they did was transform the state police, deputized sheriffs to do what? Was it to protect the community? Sure. But from whom? And to retrieve whom?
Right.
Who were they retrieving?
Well, I don't know. South. You tell us, Dr. K. You have
slaves. Slaves.
Okay.
They were retrieving slaves.
Right.
You had slaves either running from the South to get to the North, right. And that's what ensued these southern states to come up with the state police. That's why if you look around now, most of these academies are where?
Right. But let's go back to the voting though. This is what I want to understand, and then I'll let our listeners understand. So you're saying before 1865 that Black people could vote?
The Black male could vote if he was in the North and a free slave in the North. States like New York, Pennsylvania.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You had to be a free, no longer a. So when we use the term free slave, you're no longer a slave. So
by term of definition of the government.
So you're a Black man that has been freed from that. And so, but as long as you are a slave, you could not vote.
Correct.
And so this is the thing that we want to get across to everyone. During slavery, that's just what it was. You were a slave. You had absolutely no rights. You were equal to a piece of furniture. So you could not vote. There was no such thing as a vote. However, when you became freed, and as Dr. K was talking about, going up north into those areas and became a free Black person in America, then some rights were bestowed upon you. We were given some rights,
Right.
And so, listen, and that's where we're at right now in that struggle. We're going step by step, gaining our rights, and slowly, do we have the leadership for it? We're looking for leaders which we are now. You are
See,
one with this. Let's look at this program.
this would be you putting up an audition.
We're looking for leaders, which we are now. So I want to get into. We gave the percentage. Democrats are 25%. Republicans are 25%. Democrats 31%, and independents are 41%. But listen, Dr. K, this is what each one stands for. Listen to this. As we become, quote unquote, masters of words, the Democratic Party stands for social equality, equal opportunity, voting rights, minority rights, immigration reform, electoral reform, and women's productive rights.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Minister B. If I was a thinking person and really using my degrees that I've gotten, I would ask just in general. I would hope a third grader would ask this.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How he read off? Read that again, Minister B, real quick. I just want to make sure I heard it right.
Social equality.
Okay.
Equal opportunity. Voting rights. Minority rights. Okay. Immigration reform. Electoral reform. And women's reproductive rights. Right.
I don't know. You tell me, Minister B. I don't see anything about Black people in there.
Yeah.
That's what's missing. But yet.
Look, social equality, you're right. Where?
What that got to do with me?
Equal opportunity? Where? Listen, Dr. K, remember we talked about the project that's going on right now with the Barack Obama Library, right? And how many constructive companies are Black in there? Here goes a number. Wait a minute. Can everybody get a donut and look in the center of that donut? What do you see? A big old zero. How is that? How is that equal opportunity?
But this is the game they played run on us, Minister B. And if we don't educate our people properly, this is where the education process come in. True.
Yeah.
When you say education first, but surely we need economics too.
Right.
And I mean, if we don't have economics, a party, you can't have one. No party. We have to leave anyway. We don't put money behind it.
Right.
We know this well in having personal parties, right? As I said earlier, and we said on the previous show, we do partying well, do we not? But what does it take to have a successful party, Minister B? If we're going to have a birthday party, whatever party,
you have to have all of listen, everything that's attached to that party, the food, the stream, the advertising,
and that takes what?
Money. Economics.
Thank you. So where are we missing this at? How come we don't? It's not a cash registers, right? When you type in the numbers, it registers. Yeah, it does. How come we're not registered? What's going on with us, Minister P? I'm not saying all of us, but the majority of us, we can't get it. We're like, what's the movie Life? What they call a brother that was deaf. Can't get right. That's us. We can't get rights.
Well, we are really changing, man. Listen, let me go to so they said voting rights, minority rights, immigration reform, electoral reform, and women's reproductive rights.
I'll say this real quick, Minister, before you continue. All that is a negative. Okay. I'm gonna let you continue.
Yeah. Okay, so now we switch over to the Republican Party. This is their platform. This is what they stand for. Here it is. Lower taxes, free market, capitalism, restriction on immigration, increased military spending, gun rights,
Oh,
restriction on abortion, and deregulations across the board.
okay. So let's break that down. Here again, Miss B. Got all my degrees and I'm a thinking man. I'm using my
Brain
God-given
power.
brain power.
Right. All right.
And I would like to think, Ministry, that I have and please don't insult my intelligence, Ministry, or myself. I like to think that I got out of third grade okay.
All right. Well, you got your master's degree, yes, sir.
Doctorate.
Right,
Have a
there it
doctorate
is.
degree. So I
There it is.
like to think
Wow.
that I'm a thinking man, right? And I can think outside the box and have an understanding on basics, the basics. Now, what you just put in front of me would be just running down the basics.
Absolutely.
Now, what type of society do we live in America? You said it. What the Republican Party stands for.
Man,
Capitalism.
capitalism. That's it.
That's a positive one for Black folks. Even though thinking man, they never still talked about me. We're in there again.
Right. Right.
But only two positive that I can pull out of that, what the Republican Party stands for, which Dr. King, by the way, was a Republican, people. Not saying that we should jump to that party just because Dr. King was that. But the two things that stand out to me that you read to me would be capitalism, because I know what type of society I live in. I don't live in a
Right.
socialist society. I don't live in a libertarian society.
That's it.
This society is about that money.
Yeah. Capital. All that.
Capital letters, capital. People would ask you if you came somewhere to say, well, Ministry, I want you to invest in this. So they're going to ask you, where's your what?
Capital.
Capital.
Where's the money?
Again, I'm a thinking man. So I'm thinking. So only two things that I can really relate to in what you said was against, as far as the immigration thing, which is a negative again to me, is that saying, well, you're going to bring in more people, because I'm already what once was in the 50s and 60s considered to be what? Here we are talking about number two, Black folks were what? Second-class citizens.
Okay.
Now bringing in more immigrants. In 10 years, we're going to be fourth-class citizens.
Okay.
So why is it that we are running to these parties? And when you read about the parties, here again, being masters of words, it expressed nothing in there that relates to you.
Absolutely.
And then you can only pick out one of the parties. You can only gain to pick out two of the things that may help you. But that's the 1% I was talking about with the Republican Party. Say, well, we'll give them 1%. That's your 1% right there. Well, we
Right.
immigrants, we'll look out for you on that end. And then this capitalism thing, well, it's out there. The opportunities are there. You can grasp onto it, but we only gonna give you 1%. Matter of fact, we only gonna give you 1/2 of 1%. And that ain't much to go off of.
They did. They did mention lower taxes.
Yeah, that helps in a
However,
way. You got to even study that, but that's
but
not talking about.
that's not talking about us. Period.
Right.
And they don't lower taxes. I mean,
No. The
let's-
lower taxes go for the wealthy. And name me, Minister P, on a great scale.
That's it.
Just off the top of your head, Minister P, just a real quick question. It's about questions and answers, I believe, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know anybody wealthy that look like you? I mean, truly wealthy.
Yeah, you know the Mongols out there are Tyler Perry.
Well, I mean, personally.
Personally, no, not on that level.
Okay, we have a problem. I ain't concerned about the talent. That's what you call a talented 10. Who cares nothing about which they should care. You would think they would care about the lower aspect, but all they care is that, well, I'm in entertainment, so that's who I focus on. No, your focus should be on, hey, I done made it. Let me throw back a hook so I can pull all of my people out of the ditch. And all may not grasp on, because we can't save everybody, right? But we can save the importance of who we are as a people.
And we can show that we are are helping others to look. Here it is, save themselves. See,
Helps.
that's the whole program. Listen, I may not be able to give you food all the time, but I can teach you to grow your own. And see, that's where the wealth uh, reciprocates itself over and over. Teach me how. Teach me
Mm.
how. Those are three
Right.
things that we have are stand in need of. Teach me how.
Mhm.
And then after that, I can learn myself. And then I'll teach my brother and sister behind me. Teach them how. And so that's what's missing. Here's the other thing. They Republicans a restriction on labor unions.
Mm.
See, so to me, what that says to me is there's a contradiction there because listen, you stand for capitalism, right? Which is really your ability to gain riches or wealth, but then you restrict labor unions who 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 stand for everybody making money. Listen, do you know where we would be without labor unions?
Well, at one point in time, they didn't even allow blacks to be in. That was the whole purpose of even unions starting. To Because when these other wars had been happening before blacks got into the Civil War aspect, and we fought in that, and then these other wars started to formulate. World War I, these wars like that started to happen. It was blacks that were actually going in doing the labor for cheap.
Yeah,
So we wasn't really jumping off into the service as servicemen. We were, but we was like, okay, if I'm if I don't go to the war, and if I'm not drafted, I'm gonna go work in this steel mill. I'm gonna go work over here if they allow me to. And
right,
so when this white serviceman comes back home, he saw that, oh, I can't find a job. Why is this black on the job and I'm not? And I fought for the country. So these unions started based on to go against blacks being in these different job positions. They started their own tight knit unions. Just to sum it up in the basics. They white males formulated their own unions to have their own coexisting little niche of, well, we need to go into these businesses and say, hey, no, we have our own union and you should give us this, that, and the third.
yeah,
So but you're right. Now there's reference to us being a part of a union today. The Republicans are against it. Why? Because we're in it. Just to sum it up in layman's terms, they're against it because we're in it. We're in it now. We're mainly in the unions now, and we're for the unions. And our faces
absolutely.
are being shown here and there based on the job, saying I'm doing a job, and then you turn around and say, well, I don't like how you come in and here again about that percentage of whites having a dislike for blacks. Since in slavery, it was at a 98%. And we talked about this before, Mr. P. Here we are in 2021, and the hatred for blacks all over the world now has gone down 10%. So we have no allies, surely have no friends, and you get foolish battling. I left my term behind, Mr. P. The Negro, I'll use Negroologists, Negroes babbling about, well, I got one white friend. Okay, what does that mean? If they don't all stand up in unison and say, well, hey, the black person has been struggling for many, many years, and we understand that we have benefited from their struggle. Surely your one friendship doesn't equate everybody in the country. It's because I have this one friend. That doesn't, or just because, oh, well, I'm a white person that owns a business and it's blacks on my job. What does that mean?
Yeah,
Doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean racism ended.
it hasn't
Yeah.
ended. And in a perfect world, it would be great if um, uh, the white established rule of authority would stand against the oppression that is so apparent now. Um,
But they're not gonna do it.
they're not going to do it. You have small factors of them that are doing it. But listen, going back to the unions, when I was with the state, employed by the state, our union stood up mightily for and this to me shows the contradiction inside of the Republican Party, because listen, here it is. You stand for capitalism, but you fight the unions that help us gain capitalism. In other words, we weren't unionized, our wages would be cut, I would say, in half,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. But
You be
the
back into
standards
slavery.
that the yeah, the standards that the union, because I know personally, I have seen the fight over the 33 years that I was employed with the state, how the
Mhm.
union fought and gained and increased our wages year after year. They, they didn't even want to give us in what was it, inflationary raises.
Raises, yeah.
The union had to fight for that.
Yeah, and
But
it's
you
sad
stand
that
for
you have to fight.
capitalism.
Well,
It
capital
said that we have to
gain.
fight for this. Listen, we live here in a country that should afford us all of those things naturally. We shouldn't even have to fight for it. But here you say capitalism, but capitalism stands for a certain group of people.
Yeah.
And we
But
know,
mainly what it is when it's be business owners. That's what the capitalism
yeah,
is really based on. Not It's not
it's
based on
owners
you
and
on
labor.
your job. It's based on
Yeah,
the labor force, and how
yeah,
can I get cheap labor and make my business grow? That's
yeah.
what all that. That's the whole purpose of it. That's why you look around. You, to i.e., based in Illinois. Here again, that's something to be looked at. Why is it that? Why isn't any that to be any color now? Well, I'll say black or white. I'm gonna get off into these other cultural groups because they claim, most of these cultural groups claim white anyway. Everybody stay away from black, but between the aspect of black and white, why is it that when you look at somebody running for office, especially in the governorship, look at the governorship in the last 8 years, Minister B, have you seen a like-minded face like you in office to run for governor and win?
The
No,
governor,
you got billionaires.
right?
You got billionaires. One run around, first one, he's claiming his arm Republican, and then you already read what he was about. And he go another one playing a game so he can reel the people in, playing again, here again about a game. If you don't know the rules, don't play it. It's JB Prisker. Here he is in office. And his party relationship is he flip-flopped. He was running as a Republican at first. Then he jumped ship and said, well, if I want to gain the people,
Mhm.
because black folks ain't gonna understand what politics mean anyway, I'm gonna be a Democrat. And here he is, richer than the last governor. Actually richer than the last governor, but playing against it. Well, I'm gonna be a Democrat so I can gain the popularity, because most black folks gonna vote Democrat anyway, because they don't know no better, because they don't know the rules of the game. That's basically what's being said about us. That's why I say this, so you have an understanding of what's going on, the game that's being played against you. Here again, we're in that red. I call it, yeah, what's going on, Ministry? And look, here we are. We're in the game of the red. I call it the red line 3-card Molly. And we can't seem to find that card. The person who's playing the game against us. We can never find. He let us get the one round. Oh, you got that. Oh man, you got me.
And
And
yeah,
you
that's to
said,
entice you.
yeah, to
Yeah.
reel you in. Hey man, come on, double or nothing. Put that $100 back down. Matter of fact, put down 2. And you say, okay. Yeah, again, a game that. So as we continue on the definition of Republican, and then go into the definition of an independent.
Okay. So the definition of the independent party or the independent voter, they are classified as an unaffiliated voter or non-affiliated voter and does not align themselves with a political party. Uh, what they generally stand for are civil liberties, non-interventionalism, limiting the size and scope of government.
Mm.
And so they don't align themselves with uh, a political party. However, they choose a certain aspect from each party that
Mhm.
they deem will represent them. And remember, that's 41% of the voters in 2020 last year. 41%.
That tells you that that number alone tells you that most people in the country, whether it's white or black, they have no interest or no care. It's again going back into that in reference to what either of those parties is going to do, because they've got the definition, as you just read off, between the two parties, Democrat and Republican, and they underline and actually sat down and say, well, let me write all this down and say, well, where does this involve me?
Which is what we should do.
Yeah.
Write all this down.
And that's even a trick bag, because when you get to the last one, it's reference to the woman's thing. About these women's
rights.
The woman's rights.
Reproductive rights.
Yeah. That don't involve, here again, not involving the black woman. Here's where she gets a misunderstanding about where she gets in play. This is not talking about you. It's about that game again and understanding the rules, people. Not talking about you. That's why we have to get off that black women's magic. It sounds good amongst us, but don't get out there parading it in front of the world. We know who you are. We know you're special, but we're special together. We don't look as a different. We are one. It's funny how that song plays out so well and never been remade or remastered, and it's still popular today, Minister P.
What is that?
Frankie Beverly and Maze.
Oh,
we are one.
Yeah.
How many times that he has to express that?
No.
Ain't about in a relationship or marriage. He's talking about as a people. We are one. We ain't split, divided. We divided now because we allowed somebody else to divide us. Minister P, it's crazy how we are in this. You got your own people, and we can't even congregate in our own, not even because we don't have communities, but we can't congregate in our own neighborhoods. Oh, I can't come over there. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. Now these are mothers, mainly fathers, who have birthed some of these people into the world, and you are afraid. Aspect in your mindset to say, well, if I'm the elder here, there should be rules and regulations based on, again, about that bridge building that bridge for you to walk over to the next. It ain't about the damn John Lewis's. Like, again, going back to him real quick, like he's the only one who was over there on that bridge. That's how they parade this guy around, even though he's gone. They still parade him around like if he was the only one who went across that bridge. No, it's a bridge aspect of rebuilding a bridge, people, and understanding the bridge that you cross, supposed to cross over for the next generation. Because we talked about this, Minister P. Didn't we just not see 30? We've seen 30 years behind us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen again. We'll see another 30 years going in front of us. And I'm hoping, Minister P, that...
Come on now, because we're not going to change. No, it's going to change. We're painting a different picture now, and we're doing it through programs such as yours. Let's look at this, which increases our knowledge of both history and of our forward progress. So shows like yours, shows like mine, and others like ours are now informing. See, what has been missing is the critical information and knowledge that we can use to apply towards our forward movement. Can I just say this? People say, well, listen, which would you rather have, equity or equality? Okay, well, let's understand. I'm not going to choose between either. I want both.
Right.
Right. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or same opportunities. That's equality. Here's equity. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. It recognizes that, equity recognizes, the Black community has been underserved. Let's reach out and make them better.
Yeah.
And so we need both equity and equality. We can't afford to choose between the two.
Right.
So those are our needs.
Yeah, those are our needs. I mean, we need them like yesterday. And 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 as you see, over the last, I should say, me looking at the last 20 years, you know, even Bill Clinton in his late stages, I've read and researched and heard that he was just totally shocked and surprised in his late term of office that Black folks never asked and demanded for anything but a ticket to the NAACP dinner or some other little raggedy Black Caucus function. They never demanded anything. He said he was totally shocked and surprised. Now this is, and here we are in 2021, looking around, and ain't nothing changed but the time and the weather. We go through a continuous cycle of foolishness, Minister P. I don't know, when do we get off the foolishness train? When is that train? When is that call train comes and we come out of that sleep state? You know, you get on the Amtrak, and speak. I've been on there, and you sleep like, oh my goodness, I didn't hear the stop of the state. Oh, I gotta, man, how did I? Or you on one of these L tracks or subways, and you missed your stop. Black folks, we keep missing our stop. We keep missing our stop. When are we gonna get up and catch our stop? That's what we got to pay attention to. Our stop.
Exactly. That's a good analogy. That's a very good analogy. And we'll start catching our stop when we learn to read the signs and ask the right questions. We don't know what we need. Once we start finding out what are the things that we need are,
Right.
such as equality and equity, we must start pushing those words, master those words and understand those words. Understand exactly what they mean and how they impact us, equality and equity. And we're going to be pushing those two terms, Dr. K, so that it can be within our spirit, so we can just start understanding deep within our souls, this is what we need. We need equity. We need equality.
Yeah. And moreover, when you in dire strait or in trouble, and you hit the SOS call, that's called for what? HELP. That's
Help.
one thing we know we need is help.
Right.
We may not know the proper breakdown of it, but we know we need help.
We do. Yeah.
We need help. You know, and that whether that be physically or mentally, we need it. And we need it like yesterday. Here we are, coming on embarking on a new year, another year, Mr. P. Here we are coming up 2022. And where do we stand in the next here? And you seeing it, but it's not moving. And maybe Black folks are sitting back and just watching. But we really need to pay attention, people, to what is getting ready to transpire and being put before us and the games that's being ran. We got to sit back and really pay attention this time around, because if we don't, we'll look out 20 years, and we'll be past help.
I like what you just said. This time around, wake up this time around. Become more politically aware, become more socially aware, and become more inward aware of where you need to go. We are leaders. You know, the Black men step up, Black women step up.
Yeah, and in unison, we do that well too. We know how to step up well as a choir. When the director goes like that, that's how we should stand up. We should stand up in unison.
Yeah,
as one. You know, I didn't want to infringe on playing, but hey, Ms. B, I'm all about breaking the rules, you know, because greater society breaks them anyway. So, and of course, I don't own the rights to this part of music, but it's just, these are our creative genres. So we should be able to play them as will. And I'm a fan of the group, a fan of many Black groups, and they may do some stuff negatively here and there, for the most part, and of course I have allotted for our cultural great and genius, as far as music wise, to leave our community, slip out of our hands. So now you got other platforms telling you that here now you can't even play somebody's music that look like you now, but they're great, that they call the Elvises and stuff like that, come into your community and steal from you. And I'm not stealing. It's just a matter of putting out a point and a message to our people to understand the aspect of who we are as a people and being connected and how we're supposed to be connected. We have our relationships, and that's a personal thing, but on a big wider scale, we choose to want to step out. And matter of fact, we are a radio station, WKTSE, so I do have the rights to play this music. So a correction in that, but we have the rights to play the music because the rights is out there in our amongst our management, and they have touched base on that. So as we embark on a day, people, I advise you to go through the day and think about the choices you make embarking on especially the holidays that are coming up. Be mindful where you're spending your money, who you're spending your money with. Be mindful of that and research some of these places we have to go to because we have no other place to go. But be mindful of going out to buy all these toys and different things that have no meaning. If you're going to buy your child something or somebody something, make it have meaning, something they can benefit from.
Right.
And be able to possibly take it to a bank that they may own one day, or know somebody that is part of that ownership of that bank. So as we move out on this show, and I invite you, people, to definitely find it in your, as we talk about spending monies, people, this is a platform that we want to continue, want to make it greater. For the people that will be viewing this, as you see across the screen, donate to Cash App, $ KTSE Media. And for the people that's listening, if you hear it again, $ KTSE Media on one word. Any contribution would be greatly appreciated. And I definitely invite you to tune in to our dear brother Minister P in the morning at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., where he'll be giving you the spiritual feeding, the food that you would need on a Sunday morning. So you can get that awakening call.
Yes.
Put you in the right direction, possibly being able to leave a party and join the right party, the way you are celebrated, the way you are truly benefiting from it, the way you are to be able to carry over and build another bridge that will possibly carry over to your next generation of children. People, we have to look back at who are you carrying on for? Who you carrying on for? Are you carrying on just to be saying, well, I went out and voted for nothing and for entertainment? Again, we talk about exercise. You don't need to exercise your vote. That's what you got the gyms for. Go get a gym membership to do exercise. You exercise your vote for benefits and resources. And that's our time, people. We'll see you next week, possibly coming in with another party 3.
That's right. So tune in to Love at Work Ministry.
Love at Work Ministry.
Sunday morning, 8 to 9.
Love at Work Ministries. And I'll leave you with that. Yeah. Beverly and Mays, we are one. Because if we don't be one, we're gonna be, as Minister P said, that donut that you're gonna pick up this morning. We're gonna be zero.
And we want to be heroes.
Right. So that's our time. We'll see you next week.
All right. Peace out.